made everyone some nibbles. There's some guacamole.
Is there an order? There's no order.
Jack, that was very funny. Have you ever thought about doing comedy?
Straight back to it.
How is it for you? Because obviously TV in NFT1 is a pretty big deal. How is it seeing it with loads of people?
Amazing.
Yeah?
How was it for them?
So let's start at the beginning. The inspiration for this, for the Manny, for the psycho Manny. Where did it come from?
There was I had a meeting with Jack about TV, as you'll all know, moves quite slowly. So it was about 1973. We had this meeting where we just set up expectation, and we had this chat about Jack, who I've always been a big fan of, and we've worked together before. And I had this thought, but it's not really. I don't claim any particular. Well, I work in telly, so obviously I'm taking a lot of credit. But what I mean is, I just thought he could be a psychopath, and we talked about that. There's something about his eyes. And I thought that would be interesting, and Jack, to humour me, said that's a good idea. But that doesn't really get you very far, other than I thought that's an interesting thing. And then I picked up my kids, who are here today, from school one afternoon, and there was a couple there who had a Manny, and everybody, all the other parents were sort of hanging around and going, "It's so cool, you've got a Manny, it's such a cool thing." And I thought, God, they really don't think it's cool at all. And there's something a bit odd about it, but nobody wants to admit it. None of that, none of that gets you anywhere until I meet with James, and then Imogen not long after that, and we chatted about it. James had worked a lot with Jack before, and I really always loved James' writing. So then we talked about that, and then it starts to become something that's more than just a sort of thought. It becomes something, where we started plotting it and having fun with it. And I must say, I thought Jack is brilliant in this, so I hope you agree. But what an amazing cast we have. So it's like all these things, it doesn't matter how long you've done it, it's turned into something. Who knew? And it's wonderful, we're very proud of it. I'm now stopping.
Thank you for the heads up. So James, tell us about why Jack was so perfect for this role in your eyes.
I think there's a sort of little mini genre, isn't there, of comedians playing baddies or playing straight roles, and I think Adam could have been played by a sort of established drama actor, but I think with Jack in the role, it just becomes something else. And I know him fairly well, and obviously we wanted the family to really believe in Adam as a Manny, and Jack is, you may have noticed, incredibly charming and funny, and presents as the perfect Manny. Superficially charming, funny, can make cocktails, does some Greek dancing in episode 2. But inside, I know him well enough to know that there was a side of him we hadn't yet seen on TV, the empty soul. No, I was very excited about Jack having the opportunity to play a role that he's not really been offered before. That's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And I really enjoy, and I've done it a few times, writing shows with a particular actor in mind. I always want to necessarily do it, but Jack was in. I mean, the first meeting we had about Manny's, I think the same day I phoned you and suggested this idea to you, and you got excited by it. So it was very much written for Jack and with Jack. You were very involved from the beginning, and then it took shape after that. And what I love about this cast is I get excited by tone, really, and so it is a drama and it is a thriller, but I hope it's a funny one, and as it goes on it gets more and more dramatic and more thrilling, but I hope the dark wit in it is always there. And these three and the rest of them, there's no actor's better at landing both of those things at the same time. So you get the laughs where they're there, but it never diminishes the drama or the thriller storytelling. I hope.
And if that fails, you can always just show your ass.
we argued against that, but David was so insistent.
David, okay, we'll do it.
Oh, we were all very disappointed with that, weren't we? Yeah, really sad about it. So Jack, can you tell us about
Baby's ass. No.
about the chance to play a very different role for you, how exciting that was, and how sort of in-depth your research went into maybe psychopaths?
Yeah. It was a real undertaking, and definitely compared to any of the other parts that I've played, one that needed a lot of prep and a completely different approach. So it was a really exciting challenge. But yes, I mean, I was a new father in the lead up to filming this, so quite a lot of the research that I was having to do, and James telling me that I should like watch Psycho again, and then Roxy, my fiance, came down and found me with Elsie doing the feed, and I was watching Anthony Perkins in Psycho. I was like, it's research, I promise. But there was a fair few moments like that where I had to go to quite a dark place, and as you see, when the series progresses, it gets even darker and more sinister. So it was quite a strange job to do, and then have to come home at the end of the day and sort of decompress and be a dad and a partner and be just back to being my normal self. It was slightly different to when I did like Clifford the Big Red Dog. That was much easier to come home at the end of the day, to be fair. Yeah.
And how fun was it for you to be involved from the beginning, to be able to like contribute to the character of Adam?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. It was really, Tim, Imogen and James were so collaborative with me, and it meant that when I got there on the first day, it was really daunting, but I knew so much about this character, and we knew his whole backstory and what the like core wound was that was propelling him to commit to this, these acts of vengeance. And so I felt really, really prepared and really, really involved in like crafting the character, and that was because they sort of let me in on the process, which was great.
Carice and David, did you sort of have any conversations about what Nat and Jamie's life together, marriage, would have looked like before this holiday, which kind of contributes to where they are now?
Did we? There was not much time, but
No, I think when we just met at the table read, we were just talking about this, and then afterwards we spent about 3 or 4 hours with James just kind of sitting and going over the scenes and trying to figure out, the certain kind of backstory feelings and things like that, and making sense of the stories that we tell within the show to ourselves. So there was a lot of that just on the fly in the beginning.
but we've thrown in the middle, in the deep a little bit with that tricky scene at the very end, which you haven't seen obviously.
Yeah.
That we shot at the first day to sort of establish.
Wasn't ideal, was
Was
it?
that the first day?
I think it was the very first day.
Yeah, it was a very intense scene. It was the order was
A
slightly
bit
odd.
off, but interesting.
But it got you together. Yeah, it was just
Got
like-
you into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we did that scene like 3 different tonalities in a way. We just kept on trying it 4 different ways, not knowing what was going to work by the time we got to that point in the show. So that was a scary and ridiculous but fun kind of way to get it.
So in fact, they've been working together for like 7 weeks. When we
That's
at
what
the
it
beginning of
felt
this
like,
show,
yeah.
they've already done, and actually it's really wonderful because the chemistry is sort of there, and I think it'll be there from the beginning. But it's certainly there by Greece. So I think it's kind of a good way to do it in some ways.
There is that like very, very funny sex scene between you two, but also what does that sort of say about the state of their marriage as a whole? I think that's quite a unique way in, right, to
Yeah, it is.
a couple.
Yeah, I mean, they have a sense of humor at least,
Yeah.
Right.
It's really important that their marriage is brilliant at the beginning,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's too easy for Adam, Jack's character, to break it apart. And the scene they were talking about doing on their first day is a scene in episode 6 where everything is very bad and David's character has nearly lost everything. It gets very bad. And yes, it was tough for them to shoot that on the first day, but it may be good, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah.
But it was really important that I love how they are together. I think there's a really fabulous chemistry between them on screen and in real life.
Yeah.
I'm interested that you think that it's fabulous that we're having sex and she's reading a magazine. Like it's that
That may say something about me.
I know.
I don't know.
To be honest, I think that was Carice's idea.
I think I actually agree. I think what's great about that is that they both have a sense of humor with one another. Obviously,
Yeah.
She's doing that to humor him in some kind. I think in some kind.
Yeah, I mean, I read that magazine already.
Imogen, you're a self-confessed Greekophile, is that correct?
Yeah, it's quite nice to have my mum in the room. Is that okay? And be able to. I've always dreamed of doing a shout out to my mother. She's a classicist, and I was a real. I'll put all the mythology to James, not my mum.
Will not.
But yeah, it was very, very nice to have an opportunity to explore my love of the country and take everyone along for the ride, which was quite a lot of people.
So tell us about these amazing locations then, and why Greek was the kind of perfect location
Well,
for this story.
mainly James and I think, a little bit of Tim, had this terrible, terrible time recceing all the beautiful places in Greece that multimillionaires might have a second home. It was really awful. And we alighted on this villa in Paros, which really does feel like Jamie and Nat would have this place. It's quite a show-offy place. And it has a sort of masculinity to it in the architecture, so we were quite excited about that. And it is true, there is a lot of mythology in that area, and it's very fortuitous for filming because it has a very nice dry temperature in May, June before all the tourists arrive. So we can spend a bit of time there before all the holidaymakers arrive.
Producer worried about the weather.
I think as well, the more opulent and fuck off that villa was, the more they deserved their downfall as a viewer. If me, as the man who was like rocking up at a family's holiday at Centre Parks, and just going into the cabin and just destroying their lives,
That's a really good point.
I think it's the best creative decision I've ever made, because it's about a man bringing down a family, so I thought, well, it could all be in one house in London. It does move to London. And then very early on we went, no, they've got a holiday home, surely, in Greece. And so it does give it
I think
Imogen loves Greece.
All I can say is it felt a lot nicer to be able to say to David Duchovny, we are not just staying in London in February, we are going to a Greek island in June.
It's not just acting in February.
I was fine with London.
I think the other thing about these locations, as people will understand, is that it's obviously very intimate. It's about family relationships, so it gives it a sense of scale. It was James's idea to go to Greece, as Imogen says, and suddenly you think, okay, now we feel, to be honest, you feel like a big modern streamer show. Amazon were brilliant in saying they wanted to go for this, so it suddenly feels it's got scale. And then it also gives James gave himself this problem of Adam is obviously trying to get into the family, and so how's he going to do that, and how does he know they're there, and why is he even there in the first place? What's his plan? So you see all that behind the scenes. I've got to say, as a fan of what these guys have done, the moment when Adam turns up and you go up to him and there's that sort of face-off and sort of saying you've crashed the holiday is a wonderful, like watching it again, it's wonderful, and you really feel these two alphas against each other, and it was a joy to watch back. We've watched it 385 times, but every time there's something new from all these guys, and it's a wonderful thing.
I've never been described as an alpha in my life.
sorry, as he said that.
Yeah, as I said it, I was like, wow.
Jack, sorry, was I looking at you when I said that?
It is, alpha is like a really interesting term though, because obviously masculinity is such a major theme, and the kind of fragility of male egos as well. So, what does Jamie think about masculinity? How does that sort of impact?
He's all for it.
He's very
I think what attracted me to playing this character was the certainty that he had. You can call it certainty in his masculinity, or certainty in his life, or certainty in his views, and that's not something that I have as a person. So it's always interesting to see kind of the obverse of yourself and what you're trying to play. So it was really to kind of create that certainty and then watch it get exploded as the show goes on.
Yeah, and Carice, Nat is such a she's so very sure of herself all the way through, which must have been so fun to play. It must have been quite cathartic to play somebody who does not care, who will just say whatever she wants. I found that really refreshing to watch that.
That is refreshing because, of course, not speaking your mind's always, as we know, not always in real life as easy or even risky. So that was a very freeing character, and I like the fact that she is a bit of a caged animal, I think, in that sort of wealth. I mean, she belongs there, but she doesn't belong there either at the same time, and I think it's nice that you see hints of her sort of a little bit more of a rock and roll past. But I think that's also what is so nice about their connection, that it's so they're seemingly such unlikely lovers, but there's still something there that binds them.
Yeah.
It's not just the kids.
Yeah. And Jack, it's
a weird answer to your question.
No, I love that. It's true. There is something that binds them.
Not so awkward as the dad jokes this morning.
No, yeah, that was challenging.
These two were paired to do some dad jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we did
I'm
it.
sorry I missed that.
Yes, for our press, and I had to read dad jokes to Carice, and there was definitely an issue with the language barrier. I had to explain quite a lot of them, and by the end of it, I was like very sure of myself that the pivot away from comedy was a good one, because I did not feel very funny after 20 minutes of telling dad jokes to you. What is a crowbar?
Jack, you have to kind of be, you just alluded to the skills that
Yeah.
Jack has to learn. So tell us a little bit about what you have to do in episode 2, and also everything that you had to learn.
Everything,
for this
so
role.
much for this role.
Yeah, it's a
It's
lot,
just
right?
like, I'm so used to playing characters that are like fools, and they're incompetent, and they can't do anything, and they're you know, clumsy and falling over stuff and saying the wrong thing. And when you're playing characters in comedies like that, there's just like so little prep you have to do. You can just turn up on the day and then wing it. And with this, he was so competent and so skilled, and he had to flair cocktails, and he had to be a good chef. And then in the second episode, James writes in this like 3-minute like Greek dance that I had to do like faultlessly, and then I had to be in good shape as well. By the end, I really thought he would like I'd done something to James to deserve this.
I was on a bet.
Yeah. So I had to prepare and you know, like try to learn all of these skills. And then sometimes you watch it back on the screen and you remember that it's like, it's acting, it's all edited. So that thing with the flaring, with the it took me a fucking week, and then you just see my hands and then it cuts to my face. That could have been anyone. The dancing as well, because it's a drama. It's not like Strictly, is it? They didn't shoot the whole thing continuous. So again, I watched the whole thing and it kept cutting to the feet and then up to my face. And I'm like, we could have just flown over like Aliash or one of those filmed him and then cut to me at the end going, well, like the Naked Gun style of editing. And I think that would have really helped me out.
This is the real Jack. He's really difficult, actually.
Yeah. That's work.
And what did you love about the dynamic between the three of you, like the sort of like US, Dutch, British dynamic? What did that sort of bring out in each other?
That way, there's some serious 17th century shit going on.
It was interesting with David having to like build a chemistry with him, which we sort of naturally did once we first met, and then strip some of that away for all of the scenes that we were doing. Because normally you want to build chemistry with your co-star because you want to have that connection on screen, but with every scene with him, it had to be underpinned with me just like viscerally hating him, which is really hard to do because David is just so charming. But I had to really work at that in every scene, just imagine that I wanted to kill this man. So yeah, that was kind of a very particular challenge that we had.
I was very keen to make sure we had a kind of international family. It wasn't a British family in London, because we've had seen lots of those. So we had to make sure it felt fresh in that regard, but hopefully believable.
And going back to the classics, before I go to audience questions, the kind of the classic themes of the Greek mythology that was coming out, what excited you the most about some of the stories that you could sort of tell? The Greek mythology, the stories that you could tell within a modern day setting, going back to those, you know, centuries old stories.
I suppose I was aware of them. I tend not to, as a writer, I tend to just think about character and story, and I try not to think about themes because I think it can get in the way of your character writing. But of course, I was aware that it's a revenge story, and the Greeks were the first to write that. And in that episode, he talks about Nemesis. And in episode 6, episode 1, 2, and 6 are in Greece, and the story returns to Greece at the end. And there's a big sort of confrontation, and Imogen and the director Mike Barker found this incredible location at a sort of a temple of Apollo on a uninhabited island with just goats on it. And that's where it's a really sort of elemental ending to the show, where everything leads to that. So I hope that makes it sound a little bit theatrical. I don't think it is theatrical. I think it's wonderful, and that stuff I think to be just very sort of fingertips with that stuff for fear of being pretentious otherwise. But yeah, I'll be honest, when I'm writing, I never really think about themes. Maybe you can tell from the writing in a bad way, but I think if your themes lead your writing, then the characters don't get to go where you want them to go, and I like being more surprised by that. That's just the way I do it. But no, of course.
I think it's also the revelation of character and you know, just in terms of like say Oedipus, you know, that he did this, he took an action out of impatience at a crossroads one day many years ago, and that one action has been reverberating and moving forward in time for him to be avenged, I against, you know, and it's very similar in this way, that there was some kind of an action taken. It wasn't necessarily so damn dramatic or obvious, but it was not a good action, and that there will be hell to pay ultimately.
And his character has hubris. He's quite arrogant as a financial person, as well as charming and generous. And Jack, I suppose, if you're thinking in that way, is a bit of a avenging fury, but
Yeah, but you don't think about themes, so.
I wasn't thinking about it at the time. But anyway, I think about it when I'm on stage at the BFI. That's like the right way to start thinking.
This is what we did every evening after filming. We went over Greek myths in quite some detail for several hours.
I hope your follow-up question is better than the Australian journalist that we spoke to earlier on today, because he asked us about themes, and David spoke very eloquently about Greek tragedy, and he listened and he was nodded, and then he went, and you get your bum out in the first scene, which is a nice treat for the mums. Wow, okay, thank you very much. That was quite a pivot from Greek tragedy, David Bullock. He was a phenomenal journalist.
Was that Front Row?
Yeah, that was like the Australian version of Front Row as well. He was like, a legit journalist.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't reading the room.
He's like the Australian Emily Maitlis.
Imogen, just I know that some of them are here. Can you just tell us a little bit about the rest of the cast and what they kind of brought to flesh out the ensemble?
Yeah, we had an amazing cast brought together by Amy Hubbard, our casting director, and we've got a whole family of brilliant, wonderful actors who just sort of gelled together with their parents to help them. And we had Greek actors who we enjoyed, but sadly we haven't seen for a while, but really wonderful sort of police and a big cast of Greek locals who came on and fleshed out our big wedding scene and made it feel like we were the real deal.
Yeah,
I hope.
that's very cool. I'm going to turn it over to you guys now. We've got roving mics coming down the side, so if we could just keep these questions Malice related, that would be great.
Not Clifford.
No, you can if you want.
Now that the fun question's been asked, I'll do a different one. I was going to say, obviously we come, at least I did, having read a little bit about what this was going to be, but I still thought it was very affecting, and it's a question whether it was acting or writing or a combination of the things that kind of establish Jack's character as creepy. That, like when he's going through people's stuff, or like when he picks up the nail clippers, I think he's gonna do something with the nail clippers. Not the sort of I could kill you obvious thing at the end. It was all the sort of little things he did that established, like when he watches him sort of creeping along when he's drunk. That was what really made me sort of feel he was sinister. Was that all planned, written, developed? Thanks. And great, I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the rest. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, it builds. I mean, spoiler, there's a big sequence in episodes. No! It gets worse, spoiler. It gets a lot worse than a nail clipper.
I was going to say, there's a scene where Jack trims his toenails. Pretty horrifying.
One of the most disturbing reactions though to it was my American agent who'd watched the whole series, and then he called me up. He was like, "Oh my God, Jack! I just can't get over the bit where you throw away the guy's passport." Yeah, I do basically the worst thing that you can do to another human being, and he's like, "Yeah, but if you ever lost your passport on vacation and you can't get through to your assistant and it's just a nightmare." I was like, "Yeah, okay, that's your takeaway. That says a lot about you."
He lived it. Thank you.
One of the early
here
references.
while Americans are made fun.
Sorry. Yeah. But actually, it's interesting you mentioned that, because as well, like we did really want to strike the right tone with like having those tiny little micro moments of Malice in those first couple of episodes, and it was definitely a little bit of a calibration, wasn't it? And even by the time we got to the edit, we wanted to make sure there was enough of those moments where you're really unnerved and underpinning everything with that kind of like tension of what's he going to do next, but making sure that like at all points as well, we made sure that you would feel like the family wouldn't unearth him, and he needed to make sure that it felt believable that he would be able to inveigle his way in there and not, overplay his hand too early.
Yeah, and that's Jack's key to that, because you have to believe the family like him and he's charmed them.
I had to dial down my alpha a little.
It's a long way to go. But actually, the passport thing is sort of with James when he wrote that. There's a sort of sense of slight sort of nihilism as well, which I think is really, which is that it's how much is he planning, and how much is there just this darkness and this sort of say like nihilistic sense of throwing things away, causing trouble. And I think one of the early references was The Servant. That movie from
Good BFI reference.
Yeah, I was thinking we're going to get into the BFI of it.
Yeah.
But where is it Dirk Bogarde, isn't it? And he just takes his gloves off, that? And all he does is take his gloves off, and it's just so chilling and menacing. I've tried it with my own gloves; it doesn't have the same effect. So it's like that. You want that, but equally you've got to deliver, right? Because the modern audience, we need to make sure there's stuff going on.
I think that's I think I first phoned you about this. I said it's The Servant. We'll do The Servant.
Yes.
But I was also in my head thinking it was The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. But I said The Servant.
Did you watch The Servant when you were feeding?
Servant's great. Yeah, great film.
Yeah, great.
And I recognise the glove moment because Tim does it in meetings to try.
Do you have any other questions? We've got somebody there. Thank you.
Otherwise, I'm an Australian journalist, but I'm not going to ask.
I'm so sorry.
Well said. Sickening.
I know.
My question is essentially, why do you think we're obsessed with watching television series in which rich people really get it?
Great question.
Fed up. Fed up.
Eat the rich.
Yeah, eat the rich. It's fed up.
There is a real vogue at the moment, isn't there, of us enjoying wealthy people being brought down, and there seems to be a real vogue at the moment as well for shows about liars and people who are deceptive, whether it's Tinder swindler or traitors or Ripley and dramas and podcasts. So I don't know what it says about our era that we want to see rich people brought down by liars.
You can even just turn on BBC News at the moment.
I think there's maybe a thing about wanting to see the right thing happen, because maybe people feel that's not always the case. But I think what James has done, and with these performances, I hope what people feel is that it's not black and white. And actually, although it does feel like you're heading towards rich people come tumbling, actually, I think, we've already said it. You actually David and Carice's relationship is something rather wonderful. So it's grey and complicated as life is, and I think that's one of the things we're trying to do. I think James has done brilliantly, which is just make it's not actually when we pitched it, I remember, I don't suppose Amazon even listened to this bit, but I remember talking about social media and how it was sort of there was certainty on both sides, but actually life's not like that. There's something in that it's a bit grey, and I think your allegiances maybe switch over the 6 episodes, and you're not quite sure whose side you're on. I think you've done that brilliantly, James, and these guys have really delivered that. And so I don't think it's black and white. Just like life.
Yeah.
It's sort of BFI type comment, isn't it?
Very good.
I've got a question, Janet. Right. Question? So Mike's coming to you.
Mike's coming.
There you go.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda. The truth is, I've been waiting for Malice for like over a year, mainly to see David Duchovny. Sorry, don't know anybody else. So I really wanted to see David, and it took so long to do this. And I was amazed when I actually saw the first time. Oh wow, I'm here watching Malice. David's in it there, and I was wondering how close to his personality is this character, because I don't think David's stupid or soft I think he's a real tough guy inside, and I think that you, Jack, start off by being a real laddie, and that's going to ruin the whole family, and it's going to take twists, and it's going to go all over the place through the 10
Well, it's interesting.
10 series.
Yeah.
But I think David's gonna show a little bit more toughness on this.
Yeah.
Are we gonna
Really,
see some toughness
that's
from
my
you, David?
feeling.
Well, no, I mean,
It
there is an interesting question because it's something that I talked about with James, and it's something watching these moments that you've been talking about where you do something creepy out in the open, kind of, almost literally out in the open. And I asked you, it's like, well, my character won't have credibility if he seems stupid to not get who this guy is quickly enough. So there is a delicate balancing act that's going on with Jack, who is very charming and able to get away with these certain things. And I think, to answer your question, yeah, eventually my eyes get open, but that's part of my character flaw. You talk about revenge, but part of my hubris, as you say, I think I know everything. So I don't think it's possible that this guy could beat me. You know, so that's my flaw.
Yeah.
I might pay for it.
Spoilers.
No spoilers.
If you are looking for more spoilers, just watch the show. It's coming out on Prime Video on the 14th of November.
Or you can just ask Jack.
Oh, yeah.
He'll tell you anything.
Yeah.
Please join me in thanking our brilliant panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.